I started Icotech in 2013. My background is digital marketing. So whenever I came to that, I had a good idea of what I wanted, what was going on, sort of like in the web sphere, and running websites and so forth. Had worked with a lot of web-based businesses, but I was fairly new to Amazon. I'd spotted an opportunity with Amazon. I'll go through that in a moment, but I was completely new to sourcing product and finding products. That was something I just didn't know. And I think I speak to a lot of small business owners, and I know we always think, planning is really, really important and is really critical in everything that we do. Fundamentally, though, I also think my naivety helped me as well, because if I had any idea of how much work it was or how many mistakes I was going to make on the way, I may never have started in the first place. So I genuinely feel that in some ways it's that ability to persist and to continue and to want to learn. That's what really sets entrepreneurs apart, and it's why I feel very privileged to sort of be speaking to all of you today. As I say, when I started the business, I knew nothing about electronics, other than the very vague idea that most of them were manufactured in China. So that's kind of where I started my journey. It was thinking, right, okay, I want to do consumer business. They make them in China. So I had a look online. I spotted that there were going to be some trade fairs going on. So I booked a plane ticket and I flew to China. And I went to a series of trade fairs, met a whole load of manufacturers, and that's pretty much where I started the journey. I went met with the manufacturers in the trade fairs, and visited factories. They were very good at trade fairs. They were like, yeah, come. They invited everyone, I think, to see the factory, expecting most people not to go. And I was like, sure, I'll come. I'll go. So I traveled off around China, visiting all these factories, and it was excellent. It was such an education. I learned a lot about my craft, about the future industry I was going in there. I got to work and meet with and discuss with engineers. I learned how the products were made. I understood. I learned about all the key critical components in there, and it was really. The business would never be where it is today if it wasn't for that journey that I made that time. I'm really glad I sort of found the courage to go and do that. It definitely put me well out of my comfort zone. But when I reflect upon it, whilst I made a lot of mistakes along the way, that was genuinely pivotal, and I think it was crucial to my success, because not only did I learn a lot about the products I was going to be getting involved with and how they were made, but I also established some really strong relationships with the suppliers that I eventually would start working with. And at the beginning, that was really crucial, because I didn't have much of a startup budget. I literally started the business on a credit card. So I had like $7,000 on a credit card, and I had to pay for the shipping and everything of these goods as well. So having visited them, had tea, had meals with the manufacturers that I wanted to work with, I then said to them, look, I know that you're going to ask me for a really large MOQ, but I can't do that. So this is what I can do. And because I'd met with them personally, they were kind of like, okay, we'll give you a go. And that's how I started. Placed the first orders with them, paid for them on the credit card, flew back to the UK, brought the samples, got the pictures taken, got them up on Amazon in time for the goods to arrive, started the listings, and it literally took off from that point onwards, and it grew from a very organic position to where it is today. I chose Amazon as the key place to start, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So I'm just going to go through sort of like now reflecting upon all the lessons I learned along the way and where we are today, because it's a very different platform than it was back then. How I would recommend the best way to start today if I was in that position again. So I think the first question has to be, why Amazon? So this was the question I asked myself at the time. In fact, what I was looking for at the time was an alternative to Google, because I knew a lot of websites were struggling to grab their traffic, to get traffic through to the website. You have a website. Key thing is, how do you get people to look at the website and get there? And Google was pretty much the only search engine, and it's still to today pretty much the only known search engine that drives the majority of traffic to websites. But I thought, you know what, when I look for a product, there's one of two places I look for it. I either go searching on Google or I go and search for it on Amazon. So I thought the whole journey started when we're thinking, well, let's look at Amazon as a product search engine. And actually, now looking back after several years, as we look forward now, in 2018, Amazon actually overtook Google product search. So when you actually define product search they overtook. That was in 2018. Now this is up over 60% now, as of 2019's figures. So product search is where Amazon dominates, and it dominates Google in particular. In a survey that was run in 2018, they identified 22% of consumers, this is across US, UK, Germany, and France, now only search on Amazon. They are Amazon customers. They don't go looking anywhere else. But even more importantly, 72% of customers will actually use Amazon for ideas. So it's not necessarily where they'll end their journey, but it will be where they go at some point during their journey. So actually being on Amazon is a really crucial. So even if you have a separate customer base, and I think a lot of people do worry sometimes, you know, going on Amazon, will it cannibalize my existing market? It doesn't. Generally, you'll find there are Amazon shoppers and there are people who don't shop on Amazon, and the crossover between the two is actually quite small. So being on Amazon is a really crucial part of any businesses and any brand's strategy, in my opinion. I've chucked in a couple of extra slides here because we've got some initial data coming back of the last 10 months. And I think there's some really interesting information here. So this is kind of stepping away from Amazon for a second and looking at online versus offline. This is showing by month the sales of online versus offline. And I mean, we all know what caused this, we know where it came from. But I think what's really significant here is the amount of growth that actually took place. So fundamentally, what we have seen is that growth year on year that we knew was happening, online was chipping away at offline sales. But in essence, over the last 8 months, the growth has, and just to be clear, as we're seeing this data come back down, it's actually settled since lockdown ended. Online sales have dropped back a bit, but not a huge amount. And fundamentally, this is like a 10-year jump. So based on the actual growth we were seeing year on year, this is like doing an entire decade's growth in the space of less than a year. So online has definitely increased significantly over this year. And when we break it down, even when you look at something like grocery, which was far behind the rest of online sales, that step there, that bottom pink line, that's grocery sales. That's more than doubled. And then if you look at those that were traditionally doing very well, so the non-grocery category, again, massive jumps. And even where they've come back down to, like I say, it's over 10, 12, 13% increases in less than once it settled back down to those levels. So online is significantly higher, and I suspect that we will see this continue now. I think this has just acted as a catalyst and pushed online sales significantly further forward. And I suspect we will end up 5 to 10 years further along the road that we were on anyway. Amazon is both a retailer and a marketplace. And I think this is a really important distinction to make. So Amazon gives two options if you want to sell your goods. You can go down the vendor route, which is through retail.
Sorry, can whoever's got their camera, the microphone on, please mute themselves? Sorry, Zamir.
Okay, no problem at all. So if you want to, you can go down the vendor route and sell to Amazon as a wholesaler. But I deal on marketplace, and I find that marketplaces are is a position where you have much more control over yourselves. And I think that's really important to understand this distinction between the two, because essentially with marketplace, what Amazon allows is other small businesses to come onto the platform and sell and compete alongside them. And they allow this to occur, and they encourage it. You list your products. There are 3 types of ways that you can fulfill those products, and we're going to go through that in slightly more detail. But fundamentally, you list the products, you fulfill the orders, or you can get Amazon to fulfill the orders, which is generally the preferable way. Payment terms, 14 days from Amazon or Marketplace, it's 60 days on retail. You manage the customer service on Marketplace, which you don't do on retail. In terms of split, Marketplace is larger than Amazon retail, and it's growing and it's continuing to grow, and Amazon's encouraging that. They actually are encouraging the Marketplace side. Marketplace gives the seller a lot more control. As I said, you get to control the product merchandising, the promotions, and communications with customers, which are all really crucial if you've got a brand and you want to focus on that. There are 3 types of fulfillment with Amazon. The first one is merchant fulfilled. So that means if you're running a website at the moment, you're shipping orders, and you can continue to do that if you really want to. The second is seller fulfilled Prime. Now, the difference between merchant fulfilled and seller fulfilled is that in essence, you get the Prime badge. Prime badge is really crucial. Generally, if you've got the Prime badge, you'll see your sales double. And you do this by proving to Amazon that you can fulfill on time and that you have to use one of their preferred carriers, which generally is DPD or Royal Mail on their track services. And finally, there's Fulfilment by Amazon. And if this generally, again, you would see your increase in sales go up by about fourfold. And for me, it's a no-brainer. It's the one I would go for. It's the cheapest of all the options. Amazon FBA is extremely competitively priced because Amazon leverages huge advantages of scale. Just looking outside of the UK for a moment, there's the European Fulfillment Network. This means if you're using FBA, you can actually use that stock to be fulfilled across Europe. Now, this changes at the end of this year with Brexit coming in at the end of December. It still exists. You just have to register for VAT and store your products in one of the European countries to continue to take advantage of it. And what it allows you to do is hold your products really close to your customers in Europe and grow your sales across there. The Pan-EU program is an extremely powerful program that is worthwhile looking into once you've established yourself in the UK. I would always say focus on your home market to start with. The reason I went to China in the first place was because I decided I don't want to sell other people's products. I want to sell my own brand. Fundamentally, the reason I want to sell my own brand is because it gives me complete control on Amazon of my brand. And I do this through something called the Amazon Brand Registry program. Anyone who has a brand that has a trademark can apply for the Amazon Brand Registry program. If you don't apply for it, if you sell other people's products, that's absolutely fine. You can continue to do that, but you're essentially selling an item that's within the Amazon catalog. And the main thing that you can compete on there is price. Customer service does come into it to an extent, and the quality of the goods and so forth. But generally, if you want to have an advantage, you need to register and run your own brand. So the brand program allows you to protect your brand. It enables you to control your listing. You get a whole load of cool layouts and designs that you can put into place, HTML ones on the Amazon pages, and you get to protect your intellectual property. So if anyone starts selling under it or was to sell items that were counterfeit or so forth, there's a whole load of protections built into the Amazon Brand Registry program that you can take advantage of. To leverage Amazon Marketplace for your brand, I think there's a few things that you have to know and understand about Amazon. But fundamentally, they're not a retailer, they're a technology company. Also, they're the third largest advertising platform in the world. That's behind Google and Facebook. It's widely rumored and expected that Amazon will grow to be the largest advertising platform in the world, and probably in Q4 of this year. That is widely expected to happen. Data does lie at the heart of everything that Amazon does. As I say, it is a technology company more than it is a retailer. A lot of people feel that they don't want to put their products sometimes on Amazon because it kind of gives Amazon visibility of them. Unfortunately, Amazon aren't that kind of just simply focused on their data. They have access to data across all online sites and offline. So they look at everything. They look at Hitwise data. They look at other trends and analysis that they do offline. If a brand is doing well anywhere, even if you're not on Amazon, Amazon know about it. They research it and they find those brands, and they will compete with you just as likely there than not. So in my opinion, you might as well be in there and competing on Amazon as well. The other thing that Amazon does, which a lot of people don't realize, is they share an immense amount of this data. There's a huge amount of data that they make available. So I can track relatively confidently the level of sales of other sellers. I can see what the most popular products are. I can see what the most popular searches are. That's data Amazon gives me and gives everybody. It publishes all of this data and makes it available. So you can actually do this trend analysis yourself. And in my opinion, you know, someone at Amazon, they're probably managing about 10,000 SKUs. I've got a few hundred. I am going to be more dedicated and more focused than any person that's being paid a salary from Amazon. And if I can't outcompete them, I probably shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So getting started on Amazon, how you do it? Well, the first thing is to set up an account. Used to be really, really straightforward. It has become slightly more complicated due to a number of reasons. The main ones are obviously to protect from anti-money laundering, and also really critical is that Amazon and most digital platforms are now jointly and severally liable for any tax or VAT that is collected, and so therefore they're going to make sure anyone that's buying or selling through their platforms has got everything registered correctly. So account setup, expect this to be a 2 to 3 week process. They're going to want a lot of documentation, and they're going to make sure that you are who you say you are. Once you've got your account set up, you get to list your products. I highly recommend going for the brand registry, and then once you've done that, you're pretty much open to selling. So genuinely 2 to 3 weeks, you could be selling products. So that's kind of getting started. When you're listing products, some really crucial, important things to be cognizant of is how that appears. This is an example of one that doesn't do a great job, in my opinion. So their title isn't complete, I would say. They could do a lot more work on the title here. The bullet points are the minimum that you would have to put into in terms of effort. And the images really kind of, you can have 9 images. They show the first 6. To just put one up is fairly lazy. If we look at a slightly better example here, you just compare the title, much fuller, a lot of information there. People understand from the title what the product is. Images, lots of images across there. In this case, it's food related, so nutritional information has kind of been highlighted there on some of the secondary images, and lifestyle shots. And really importantly, the key USPs of the product have been pulled out in the bullet point, and really full details. Anyone that's not aware of what this product is, that's appearing for the first time, reading through this, it's really crucial that it's delivering the information that they're going to need to be able to make a decision as to whether this is the right product for them. So assuming you've got your listing up and it's looking spectacular, it's fully optimized, you've got great images and everything, the next thing that you want to do is build reviews. Reviews are crucial. So that's where you start. Before you expect to send any number of large amounts of traffic or pay for anything in terms of traffic wise, you want to make sure that your reviews are there and that you're scoring generally a 4.3 or above. That's kind of like the minimum mark you want to be at. And I would genuinely say I would want at least 5 reviews, average of 4.3 above. Having done that and built those reviews, then you can start building sales velocity. And there are a number of techniques I'm going to run through and highlight a few of those in a moment. That then builds your product's sales velocity. And once you get yourself into a good position, then you can kind of focus on profit and margin maximization. And so your strategy kind of shifts at that point. And then finally, you go into this kind of protecting and monitoring area and protocols that we put in. This is how I run up my listings. You're constantly monitoring to see what's happening in the market, what people are doing, what other sellers are doing, what new entrants are coming in, and making sure that you're always keeping one step ahead of them. As in any market and in any business, online or offline, it's really important to know what your customers are doing, what they're experiencing, and you need to know what your competitors are doing and how they're pushing boundaries. What's really nice about Amazon, most digital businesses, is it makes it pretty straightforward for a small business to do that because all this data is available. So it's quite easy for us to analyze and see. So the thing that most people want when you get a listing on Amazon is you want to get to the top of the page, right? This is like any search engine. You want to be right at the top of the page. So the key thing to understand is what's Amazon looking for whenever it pushes products up to the top. The fact is, it's pretty straightforward. They're looking to maximize revenue. So they look at over 200 criteria. The key ones are reputation. So if you're fulfilling all orders, if you're dealing with all the requests and emails and messages that come through in a timely manner and satisfying all of the customers, and you're getting really strong feedback, that's really important. So that's a crucial part of it. The second bit is relevance. So obviously you want to be at the top of the page. You want to be at the top of the page for the right search terms. That's really key. If you're not appearing at the top of the page for the right search terms, you want to then understand why that is, and relevance may come into that. You may be describing the product, for example, in a way that you think is relevant, but maybe it's not quite how a customer sees it. It's really important to look at it from a customer's perspective. The key things that Amazon are looking for are conversion rate and sales velocity, right? So they're looking to, going back to that first point, they're looking to maximize revenue. So they're looking at your product and they're putting it into a position, and then they're going to say, right, this real estate is really valuable to us. We want to put a product in it that's going to give us the biggest return on investment. So they're going to look at the conversion rate and the sales velocity of your product in that position, and then determine if it's more effective than a competitive product. And that's how it decides what listings get that visibility. And that's fundamentally what drives that part of the tools. In order to influence it, there are a number of things you can do. The first one is the fulfillment type. If you use FBA, that means that A, you've got the Prime badge, but B, you've got a delivery promise that's going to be next day and in many cases, the same day. Generally, the expectations of clients have changed and people expect products to be delivered very quickly. So if the longer the delivery promise, the less likely the item is going to convert. So fundamentally, delivery type, fulfillment type is really important. Brand pages are really important. That kind of transfers all that information about the product and pushes that forward. So brand pages, making sure the product looks really good, that's really important. You can run targeted promotions, and that's really, really crucial too. So that's where you're going to encourage people to buy your product over someone else's, maybe using price, but that's not the only lever available to you. There are other things you can do within that. You can do all sorts of things, buy one, get one free. You can buy this, buy another product, get a discount for another product. There's a large range of promotions that are available there. And then there's paid search. That's where you're paying for traffic to come through to the site, and you can use that. Once you know that the product page is converting really well, you can use paid search to really push your listing and prove to Amazon that there's going to be a conversion rate there, and that you've got sales velocity, and that's going to encourage Amazon to push your listing up the page further. And then you come around to actually analyzing. So all of the stuff that you're doing is really important to analyze, see how it's working and understanding what is working, and then use that analysis then to drive your decisions. Do more of what is working and less of what's not. And reviews. Reviews are crucial. They're probably, in terms of the metrics of Amazon, the most powerful metric. And that's because in a lot of ways you get two benefits from it. The first one is that people, whenever they come through to the page and they read reviews, if there's lots of good reviews about the product, they're more likely to buy it, which is self-fulfilling, because then that means that actually you increase your conversion rate, and that increased conversion rate, and this is the second advantage, then pushes you up. Amazon also, if it sees multiple positive reviews coming up, and if you're getting more positive reviews than a competitor, regardless of anything else, that will also push the algorithm that sits behind Amazon's metrics to push your listing up higher as well. Key thing about reviews is, the first thing, you have to ask for them. So there's lots of ways of doing that, through social media, through Amazon, for your contacts with your customers. Ask for reviews. You have to do it in a very fair way. You can't ask for positive reviews. You have to ask for a fair review, but you can do that. Secondly is monitoring reviews. And this comes down to really negative reviews. When you get a negative review, respond to it. Look at it. This is a negative review I picked up on one of our products. They had a problem with the product. It was not a fast charge. It took 6 hours to charge an iPad 50%. There was a problem clearly with the product. It should be doing better than that. They did leave a previous comment. That's how we knew that there was a problem. They'd left a negative feedback. We got in touch with that. This place, they've highlighted Sarah, who's great, runs our customer service team, and she's got in touch with them, and she sent a replacement, as they put in there. It arrived, works exactly as it's meant to. They're very happy, and this one, it arrived today. The day it's arrived, that customer's happy. They've changed that review from a 1-star to a 5-star. So you can change reviews. You just have to look out for them and then communicate with the customer in a timely manner to resolve the issue with them. So it's really important. There are a lot of marketing opportunities on Amazon. They do promotional stuff, and as I say, but price isn't always the key one that I want to use, but you can use it strategically, as you would in any retail setting, to push sales at certain times of the year, and maybe whenever you're heavy on stock. They do lightning deals, deals of the day. There are promotional offers that you can run, and voucher codes. Some of these you can have voucher codes which are visible to people. Others you can have codes that you can give to people, say through social media, and drive them through to the site that people who would on Amazon not be able to see. It would only work at checkout. So there's all sorts of a suite of tools that you can use for marketing on Amazon. In terms of sort of like that search algorithm and how it works, the key strategy and the process that I work to generally is to promote. So push out to create a promotion, and then use that to share, generally to share that offline to drive more traffic through. Use that then to communicate and build reviews on a product, and then send more paid advertising as well through. That therefore increases the position of the listing, which increases the overall sales velocity. And then again, it's a matter of analyzing the data, see what parts have been working, what hasn't, and then pretty much start that cycle again, and just continue as much as possible in a virtuous cycle of continuing to learn what's working and do more of that. Now, the other thing about Amazon is that it's an international platform. Now, I'm a big believer that you have to get things working locally first. Once you know how it works, then Amazon opens up a wealth of opportunities. They're across Asia, Australia, Japan, and North America. Now, in terms of the biggest marketplaces, Europe and the US are the two largest. The US is massive. It's huge. The only reason I would suggest not starting there is it's quite far from home. So I always fundamentally say, look, start at home, learn your lessons here. Europe's very close, so it's quite an easy one to move to, but they've got multiple languages, and with Brexit, that is going to pose it more of a challenge. US, North America is the next area that I would consider using. Now, the advantage of Amazon in terms of, especially as a small business, is the fact that it's a common platform, right? So the back end of the system, how it works, the product, the catalog, it's the same catalog, it's the same listing, same images go across all of these countries. And so that's really easy to manage. And from a training perspective, it's really straightforward. It's the same platform that everyone's using. A few language alternatives, maybe some cultural differences, maybe some regulatory differences, those you have to be aware of. But fundamentally, in terms of a selling platform, it's probably the easiest way for a small business to export across the world. As I say there, get it working domestically first, but then look at pan-EU and Europe and the opportunities it offers. And this final point, I can't get enough, can't focus on enough. FBA is available in all of these marketplaces. So it's available in North America, Canada, Mexico, Japan, India. You put your stock into one fulfillment center, essentially. Amazon then disperses it across the country, any of these countries, and then make sure that those goods are put into your customer's hands as effectively and efficiently as possible. Ultimately, I think Amazon is the world's best logistics company. I mean, nobody does it better than they do. So as a small business, I can leverage that, knowing that they'll get my goods into the hands of my customers better than anyone else can. And I can focus on the stuff that's really important to me. So it's the product development, the brand development, the communications with my customers. That's what I can do as a small business. That's where I should be focused. I shouldn't be trying to set up a logistics company, because I'm just never going to be able to compete with a company like Amazon. And ultimately, I don't need to. I can just partner with them. So what actions would I recommend you take? So the first thing, I guess I'd say, is apply for the Amazon Marketplace account. It takes a few weeks, so definitely need to do that. You need to apply for brand registry. And if you don't have a trademark, you want to get started on that. It's generally a 2-month process, but as a result of COVID, it has taken longer. So I would start that really soon if you don't have that. And then once you've got your brand registry and you've got your marketplace account, really what's left is to prepare your products. You need to label them. You get SKU labels from Amazon. There's help sections and everything that shows you how to do this. You print out the barcodes and you place them on each of the products, and then you box them up and you ship them into Amazon. And Amazon kind of takes responsibility for them from that point onwards and make sure they get into the customers as the orders come through.